And that's all the sport today.
I think we've only ever, Africa as a continent has got to world ranking of number 2, isn't it, in terms of tennis?
Yes, and that's why Ons Jabeur is such a big deal, because she played 2 Grand Slam finals last year, and really she's seen as someone who's the potential, the all-round game, to win a slam. Unfortunately, she's had some injuries this year. Her form has dipped slightly, but I think she'll be ready for the French Open next week and be very dangerous.
Yeah, doing Tunisia proud. Thank you very much, Parv. That is it from us today. You can find me on social media. I'm at Lukwesa Burak. Plenty more on the BBC News Africa page website. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
As fighting continues in Ukraine, join our team for the latest developments.
There's now a massive effort to rebuild what's been destroyed, but what happened here will never be forgotten.
See the headlines as they happen with breaking news alerts in the app and get the full story with bbc.com/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Russian officials say the Belgorod region has once again come under attack, with drones and shellfire striking villages overnight. The Wagner mercenary group has again criticized Russia's government, claiming 20,000 of his soldiers have died in Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Texas marks 1 year since the gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers inside a classroom in Uvalde. Hello, I'm Yalda Hakim. Welcome to the Daily Global, where we'll bring you the top stories from around the world. Now, we start with the war in Ukraine and a warning from Russia that it will respond extremely harshly to any future incursions. It came as Russian officials said the Belgorod region had once again come under attack. Just take a look at this map. It shows Belgorod on the Russian side of the border with Ukraine. Officials say drones and shellfire struck villages there overnight, but no casualties have been reported. On Tuesday, Russia claimed to have defeated armed insurgents who'd crossed the border from neighbouring Ukraine. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're watching BBC News. Let's go to the United States now. And talks to tackle the US debt crisis are due to continue today in Washington. Negotiators for President Biden and congressional Republicans have until June the 1st to come to an agreement on raising the government's borrowing limit or risk the US not being able to pay its bills. Some analysts have warned that a default could lead to huge job losses in the US and even a potential global recession. Well, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, has been speaking to reporters in Washington about the ongoing talks. Have a listen. We'll be back in the next few minutes with all the latest headlines, including a special report that we have on modern slavery. A report by the Walk Free organization has just come out, which looks at 50 million people who are living in slavery today. They say that's an increase of 10 million in the last 5 years. So we will be speaking to the person who led that report, the Global Survey Index, as well as someone who has been a victim of modern slavery, a young migrant worker from Nepal who talks to us about the challenges of being exposed to modern slavery. So that was a report that's come out today on 50 million people who are living in slavery. That's an increase of 10 million in the last 5 years, according to the campaign group Walk Free. We'll be speaking to someone on that story. You can also go to our website, website to find any of the stories that we've covered here on the programme today. That's the usual place, bbc.co.uk. You can also get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm at BBC Yalda Hakim. See you in the next few minutes. This is BBC News, the headlines. Russia has warned of an extremely harsh response to further incursions after the Belgorod region once again came under attack. The Wagner mercenary group has again criticised Russia's government, claiming 20,000 of his soldiers have died in the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. US and European lawmakers call for an oil industry executive to be removed as head of the COP28 climate summit. We'll speak to one of those officials. Welcome back, I'm Yalda Hakim. Now, slavery has blighted humanity for centuries, and the sad truth is that slavery in the modern world is still very much alive. 50 million people live in slavery today. That's an increase of 10 million in the last 5 years. That's according to campaign group Walk Free. The group's global survey index released today also states that forced labour is on the rise and forms a key part of many supply chains feeding the global economy. Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined now by Grace Forrest, the founding director of Walk Free, and Nasreen Sheikh, founder of the Empowerment Collective and an advocate for global human rights. Thank you both for joining us here on the programme. Grace, I'll come to you first. I mean, this is sort of the mind boggles, the idea that 50 million people living in modern slavery, that's an increase of 10 million in the last 5 years.
Yes.
Per Holmgren, a Swedish member of European Parliament, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're watching BBC News. A paralysed man has been able to walk again simply by thinking about it, thanks to electronic brain implants. A medical first, he says, has changed his life. The electronic implants wirelessly transmit his thoughts to his legs and feet via a second implant on his spine. The system is still at an experimental stage, but a leading UK spinal charity called it very encouraging. Here's our science correspondent, Palab Ghosh. Maureen, Raven, thank you both for joining us here on the programme. And you can check out Maureen's Instagram page. She's got extraordinary art, as well as Raven's as well. We'll be back in the next few minutes, so don't go anywhere. You can also catch up on all of the stories we've covered here on our website, the usual place, bbc.co.uk. See you soon.
A day of history in the making.
Europe, are you ready?
Got to be good looking, 'cause he's so hard to see.
Truly awe-inspiring.
Come together right now.
That was fabulous.
Over me.
This is the moment. They will say, I was there.
Live from London, this is BBC News. The BBC has obtained new footage after 2 teenagers were killed in a crash in Cardiff on Monday. Officials insist they were not being chased by the police. Russian officials say the Belgorod region has once again come under attack, with drones and shell fires striking villages overnight. Texas marks 1 year since the gunman killed 19 children and 2 teenagers inside a classroom in Uvalde. And the UK is set to win a battle with Spain to host a multi-billion-dollar electric car battery plant. Welcome to the programme. We start with the war in Ukraine and a warning from Russia that it will respond extremely harshly to any future incursions. It came as Russian officials said the Belgorod region had once again come under attack. Just take a look at this map. It shows Belgorod on the Russian side of the border with Ukraine. Officials say drones and shellfire struck villages there overnight, but no casualties have been reported. On Tuesday, Russia claimed to have defeated armed insurgents who'd crossed the border from neighbouring Ukraine. The government in Kiev has denied any involvement, and the United States has issued a statement saying it does not encourage attacks beyond Ukraine's borders. Thomas, thank you so much for that update. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're watching BBC News. The former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he's no longer using government-appointed lawyers to represent him in the COVID inquiry. It follows the news on Tuesday that Mr Johnson faces a new police probe for potential breaches over COVID lockdown restrictions. Separately, the Cabinet Office has been threatened with legal action over a row with the official COVID-19 inquiry regarding the release of unredacted WhatsApp messages and diaries belonging to the former Prime Minister. Well, let's get up to date on this situation and speak to our UK political correspondent, Helen Catt. Helen, just bring us up to date, because there are a number of things moving here. Simon Jack there. We'll be back in the next few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I want to talk to you about the politics of this. Did she not think she was going to get that question?
It's important to remember that this is a negotiation.
It's a good photo of.
I have an opportunity to create chaos.
There is always an email. We are so insignificant in this cosmos. Do you want some facts on baguettes? I'm just feeding you the stories. Maybe this is the context.
The Context, tonight from 8 p.m. on BBC News and iPlayer.
You're watching BBC News, the headlines. Russian officials say the Belgorod region has once again come under attack, with drones and shellfire striking villages overnight. Texas marks 1 year since a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers inside a classroom in Uvalde. And the BBC obtained new footage after 2 teenagers were killed in a crash in Cardiff on Monday. Officials insist they were not being chased by the police. Now, Wednesday marks 1 year since a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers inside a classroom in Uvalde, Texas. The shooting was the deadliest in the state's history, and a criminal investigation is still ongoing of the slow response by law enforcement. Our North America correspondent Will Grant first reported from the scene of the massacre last year and has gone back to revisit the parents of a 10-year-old little girl who was killed. Just a warning, some viewers may find this report distressing. OK, we've just got some breaking news that's just come in for you. The US-born singer-songwriter Tina Turner has died at the age of 83. We're just getting that news that's just come into the newsroom. David Silito looks back on her life. A remarkable life. David, thank you so much. That's the life of Tina Turner, the singer, songwriter, dancer, author who's died at the age of 83 after a long illness in her home in Switzerland. That's according to her spokesperson. We'll have much more coverage. Ben will be here in the next few minutes, but for now, to the weather.
We've seen some spectacular sunrise and sunset pictures over the last 24 hours, like this